All right, hey everybody, welcome back. I hope you're all doing well. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for hanging out as well. So another gameplay video for you guys. We're going to jump right into it. If you haven't already, go check out the last video on the channel. It was the first in a series of 3 gameplay videos on the mid-range list for Vynnset. I show the list briefly, but you'll find it in the description of the video as well. So without further ado, we are simply going to take a look at this double-header matchup. You'll notice it's a bit longer, but we'll jump around a little bit. I might actually just jump through the first game. But essentially, we paired into this lovely Enigma player. And I think they just took this as sort of like a learning opportunity. I get the sense that they didn't have very much experience into Vynnset specifically. I'm also learning the new matchup. So I have, so I'm going to pause for a second because the sideboard decisions that I made are based on this experience. So I paired into an Enigma recently that had some more life gain stuff. So I decided to go Reaping Blade here. I don't think it's correct. I also decided to side in more 6 power things in case they were more sort of like phantasm leaning. I don't know if that's necessary either. Haunting Rendition may be a fine addition for damage prevention and rune chant generation. I don't think you want to put in Reduce to Rune Chant, but Revel's also a fine target. So yeah, definitely like learning the Enigma matchup still. So it looks like we're kind of choosing what we want to do here. I decided to go less on the disruption here. 1 Haunting Rendition, so a bit of a weird sideboard. I don't have a solid sideboard plan yet for Enigma. But anyways, I think I'm going to fast forward a little bit through this first game because, again, I think it was more of a learning experience for them. And so I'm not going to talk through the first game. I want to talk through the second game. Because essentially what happened is we played a quick one. I'll just fast forward and you can kind of see generally how it went. Obviously not the individual plays. But again, I think the Enigma player was kind of like figuring it out. And maybe they had an awkward game. I'm going to fast forward even faster. But you'll notice that their life total is going to tick down pretty quick. They were getting hit by some succumbs. Our hands were lining up quite well, and they were kind of just like blocking out, probably still trying to figure out how to navigate the, destruction, the shadow non-attack sort of like pop ability of those wards. So we're still at 36 at this point. They're down to 18, so they're taking quite a bit of damage, and they're probably getting frustrated. They also played Pummel, which was really interesting, a blue Pummel in this list, so their list might be a little divergent as well. I'm not quite sure. I've never encountered a Pummel Enigma. So it was definitely an interesting matchup for sure. But anyways, long story short, they did decide, or they asked us for a rematch after this. I think because, it took them 1 game to sort of like figure out what our shenanigans were all about. But you saw, like, as you can see from the life totals, this first match was not that close. So a little less interesting. I did end up taking a bunch of damage on their pop-off turn. At the end, they did sort of have a pop-off Miragai turn. But we had such a strong life total lead at that point that we had the luxury to just like soak up a bunch of damage, pop their stuff using a Shadow non-attack, bring them to 1, and then the writing was on the wall. We're just basically stripping their hand until we were able to push that damage. So again, they decided to ask us for a rematch, which I was happy to oblige. This time I made some different sideboarding decisions. So I stuck with Flail Bloodied Oval, which Flail is really helpful to pop Spectra. So, they played Shimmers at one point. Rather than Reaping Blade, again, I don't know if that like Enigma that I encountered that was running more life gain was kind of a one-off. So I still need to figure that out. But I don't, at this point, think that Reaping Blade is the way for Enigma, but correct me if I'm wrong. So I went with Flail that time. They're going first, but we don't have that many options. Like, we're not going to play the D-Reacts into Enigma, at least I don't. I decided to go Prevention with Haunting Rendition for Rune Chant generation. And this time I didn't really... I knew they weren't on that much... or any that I saw. Phantasm. And so decided to cut down on the amount of like 6 attacks that I was putting in the deck. to kind of, I didn't need the bulk, I felt. So our turn 0 is just a banish of a Deathly Whale, or I'm thinking about it. The other play here would have been, so that's the other thing with the mid-range list, is we have more opportunity to just like play stuff out from hand. So actually it might have been a better call to actually play this whale, like play Machinations, whale, like natural whale pitching Shadow Averser, then flail. I actually like that line quite a bit. So I think I may have messed up a little bit here. I should have, in hindsight, I think I should have played this whale out, like banishing the Deathly Delight instead. I think I like that line better. Yeah, this line isn't that great. So I think a little misplay here. I think banishing the Delight, playing Machinations, Deathly Whale, Hardcast, Flail. I wouldn't have an arsenal, but I think that's fine. I think that would have been a better play in this case. So they give us their blue pummel. They are on blue pummel, so I don't know what that's all about, but interesting anyways. And I think they're going to favor sort of like preserving their life total in this case. They do have a Mirror Guy here, and we don't have any non-attack action or shadow non-attack actions. So we're not able to pop it, which worries us a little bit at this point. And so I go ahead and filter to try and find some shadow non-attacks, I think. So we traded in our Machinations because we have other go again in our hand. I think they went back a little bit, but I think we're going to do the same thing. So block with some equipment, try and dig for a shadow non-attack action. Unsuccessfully, but that's okay. In this case, we're going to banish our Eloquent Eulogy. We're going to play out a Malefic Incantation. And let's see what we do. We're going to Mauve Skies, Eloquent Eulogy, and then we could either play Read the Runes, which is interesting choice here. We could either play Read the Runes and just end on 4 chance, or we could present Flail for 1 and 1. Depending on, so they blocked the Rune Chant, and I'm curious if they block out, so they block out the physical here as well. They have some ward that they're setting up. So they're going to block out the physical. We're not going to get our Eloquence token. So what I'm thinking is, do I want Eloquence token and just sit on Read the Runes and Arsenal and then on the next turn play it out? Or do I want to just like play Read the Runes out here? It doesn't really matter either way. Flail does present extra damage. So in this case, I decided I'm going to give them Flail. It gives them another decision point. Do you want to deal with this one? Do you want to give me a Rune Chant? And then it allows us to set up our Eloquence token for Read the Runes at the beginning of our next turn. Excuse me. So we're going to sit on this Read the Runes. Our next turn is great. We have a Shadow non-attack, which we're happy to see at this point because we really want to get rid of this Mirror Guy. When you see that card, you want to get rid of it as quickly as possible. So they present it. We're probably going to have to soak up some damage here. I don't know. We probably want to banish this Deathly Whale. Or if we really want to push damage and go too wide, we could banish the Deathly Delight. So that's what we decide to do. We're going to block with the Deathly Whale, take 5, and then on our next turn, we can choose to go too wide. Oh, that's one thing that I forgot here too. They played Dissolver Reality, which actually hurts us quite a bit here because we are no longer able to play Read the Runes from Arsenal. So that kind of sets us back a little bit. Because we were banking on that so that we could set up enough rune chants for our Deathly Whale. In this case, we're going to have to settle on just popping Mirror Guy. That's our priority right now. Excuse me. So in this case, we are just going to Shadow. We popped Vexing. So we did decide to still... we really wanted to play Whale. We played a Shadow non-attack, so it guarantees that we'll make 2 chants when we close the chain. So it allows us to make a decision later on. Do we want to sit on chants, like 3 chants at the end of the turn, or do we want to go wide this turn and present the Deathly Delight? I don't mind popping Vexing Quillhand early if it is to like turn our Deathly Whale engine on. So essentially, like if we have a Shadow non-attack, we can play out Whale and we can kind of like guarantee end on chance. That's enough value from Vexing Quillhand. So I don't mind this decision at all. The alternative decision would have just been like, sit on Whale, just pop Mirror Guy with Beseech and Delight, but yeah, it doesn't get our rune chant generation engine started. So I don't mind using Vexing Gwilhan in this case for that purpose. So in this case, they're going to play out, this has Overpower, so they're just going to play out a Sink Below. And, I mean, they could have blocked with more stuff, since, you know, it's not an attack action card. But in this case, they're still going to soak up some damage here. And we can either break the chain and play out Deathly Delight, or we can play Whale, or Flail, I mean. So sending one rune chant, making them make another decision. Do you want to give us a rune chant or not? Which I kind of like this decision. I don't mind sitting on Deathly Delight since we're going to end on 2 rune chants, at least, if not 3 rune chants, depending on their decision here with Flail. We can guarantee play this out next turn. So I don't mind floating it if we're not like that worried about going wide here on this turn. Just kind of like presenting them with a different decision and then saving the Whale or the Deathly Delight for next turn. So they decide to take this. They give us our 1 rune chant on the on hit. We get 2 more from Whale, and we get a Bounding Demagon that we can sit on an Arsenal, which is fine. It's just a free 3 damage for next turn. Don't mind sitting on or arsenaling Bounding Demagons. They're going to do some Transcending, and they're probably going to do some Enigma shenanigans or something like that. I only barely understand what an Enigma does. But all I know is that we are sitting on a Shadow Puppetry. We have plenty of rune chants, so I'm very happy to banish this Deathly Whale. Do something like Shadow Puppetry Whale. We have some cards we don't care about here. So Phantom Wraith is just a 3 block in this hand. Fine, just preserve some life total. So we block 3, take 2. Not too worried about anything else in that case. And then, what else do they got? So they're going to pitch to Enigma, make a Spectral Shield. I believe that's how it works. Sure. Swing in with it for like 3 or 4. 2. Okay, makes sense. I never know what the Spectral Shields come in for. And we're happy to take it. They're going to lose it on our next turn, so it's just life for us, and that is fine. So, next turn we're going to banish Whale. We're going to play Shadow Puppetry Whale, and then we'll see what we can do. Again, we kind of have some decisions. So Shadow Puppetry Whale, we're going to take the damage, of course. We always snap take the damage against Enigma. It's going to pop their Spectral Shield. Malefic's going to tick down for the last time and make us 1 rune chant on attack. They're going to do some Transcending right away to draw into some chi, I guess, so that they can pitch to prevent some Arcane, I suppose. Excuse me. So let's see. They're Transcending. They're taking Arcane. Yeah, they're taking our rune chants. They're staring down 5. So our choices here are Break Chain, followed up with like Deathly Delight if we want to go wide. Or we will see. Oops, sorry, pausing stuff. So we didn't hit anything spicy off top, which is fine. So we can break the chain, make 3. So we did decide we're going to go wide here. Present Deathly Delight. We know they have some chi in hand probably, so they can't really block, but they're going to pitch to Meridian to try and do some warding of this damage. And then they're going to pitch to prevent some Arcane. And then they... so, yeah, I mean, they're probably going to have to take some more damage here. So they warded 2, I guess. Took a couple damage. And then we decide to just, like, Creepers in. We dealt some Arcane here, so we can just take advantage of Creepers to get this Read the Runes out of our hand. Set up some rune chants for our next turn. They don't have much to do, so they pass. We banish a Widespread Ruin. And we have 2 options for Shadow non-attacks. But Shadow Puppetry is probably the play here. Or, I don't know. Because we could Shadow Puppetry, Whale, or Ruin, and then get the Bounding out of our Banish. But in this case, it looks like we just want to present one big beefy attack. I don't know if this is the play. Because we don't... in hindsight, I might have played this differently. We'll see how it shakes out. But if I go Shadow Puppetry, like, we just want to non-attack. Actually, we don't really care. They don't have any wards set up. So I don't know why I decided to just go tall here. I think Shadow Puppetry, Ruin, Bounding might have been better. I guess we IP ourselves, but I could have then followed up with either Read the Runes or... Yeah, because you could... no, I wouldn't have been able to follow it up with Read the Runes. But then you sit on Envelop and Arsenal. So I don't know. There are a couple different ways you could have played that hand. This may not have been the play, but it does present a big beefy attack. But Widespread Ruin plus Bounding is sort of the same thing. So yeah, I'm questioning this decision a little bit. They do still give us their hand and take one. And we actually get lucky and banish a Funeral Moon off top, so we're just going to play that before the end of our turn to end on a Rune Chant. Yeah, I think the play would have been Shadow Puppetry Bounding. Shadow Puppetry Ruin Bounding, so then it opens our arsenal up for us to replace it with that Envelop. And Envelop would have really served us well in this turn when we're staring down a whale. It would have allowed us to make that third Rune Chant. So there's some awkwardness occurring right now because we sort of misplayed on our last turn. So keep an eye on that. I think I would have played that last turn a little bit differently. But that's cool. That's why we're doing this. That's why we're sitting through and watching and talking through these plays, because there's always a way... there's always better ways potentially to do this. Or to play these lines, right? So, okay. In this case, we went ahead and banished this whale. It's a little unfortunate. If we would have played that last round differently, we would have been able to play out the whale. But in this case, we're just going to go Shadow Puppetry, Bounding for 4. I guess it'll still get the buff from Shadow Puppetry. For 4, go again on hit, look at the top. And in this case, they chose not to block. They might still de-react, but... so they took 4, and we get to look at their hand. And snap take this Mirror Guy, because as soon as we see Mirror Guy in hand, we definitely don't want them to be able to hold on to that. So in this case, we don't want to banish Envelop in Darkness. That's no good. And we get to follow it up with Flail to get rid of their Shimmers of Silver. So we sort of like clean up what they had going. We got really lucky on the Succumb hit to grab that Mirror Guy from their hand. And all they're going to do is present this Command and Conquer back at us, which, I mean, what did we stuff in Arsenal? I can't remember anymore. Whatever we had left. Oh, the Beseech. The Beseech is not the end of the world. We do have a 4 block. We could cover this up fairly easily, but we don't have any Rune Chants, which is a bit awkward. Again, if I didn't misplay a couple turns ago, we would have been sitting on Rune Chants here from Whale last turn. But in this case, we're just going to make some Rune Chants. So we can we have to work pretty hard to get to 3 Rune Chants. We prevent some damage with Haunting Rendition to make 1. We banish to make 2, and then we have to, we have Tunic up, which helps, but we can Tunic to Envelop to make our 3rd Rune Chant. So Tunic, Envelop, make our 3rd Rune Chant, take the damage, pop this, whatever, Waning or Waxing Vengeance, and come in with a big fat whale. So we were able to bail ourselves out. We got good value from that hand. So no harm, no foul. We did lose our arsenal. So again, some awkwardness that stemmed from a misplay. And so those misplays can sort of like snowball, as you can see. But we all make mistakes. So yeah, definitely a better way to play that sequence a couple turns ago. That would have smoothed our next couple turns out. But now we're rolling again. We have our Deathly Whale engine going. So they're going to do some blocking. They're going to do a bunch of stuff. Pitching Chi, like they got a Chi from Traverse. They're pitching some Chi to prevent some Arcane. They're activating Meridian. So they're just like trying to prevent as much damage as possible. But no matter what... Oh, and then this Meridian gets stuck here for some reason. Talishar is awkward sometimes. But no matter what, we get to end on 3 chants thanks to Malefic plus the 2 from Deathly Whale. Just trying to figure out how to get rid of this Meridian. And they can't really do much because they pitch their whole hand to prevent as much damage as possible. And we get to, they're sitting on Arsenal, we get to banish a Widespread Destruction. And we get to go 2 wide here with some creepers shenanigans, I believe. So yeah, we get to go 4 and 6, presenting this Deathly Whale first. We're going to be able to creepers in this Deadwood Dirge. Thanks to Malefic Incantation, we will produce a rune chant after this attack resolves. And so we can creepers in Deadwood Dirge, targeting the rune chant in order to turn the 1 into 3 and then follow it up with the Widespread Destruction. So we're going to have to pitch one of these, either Eloquent Eulogy or Haunting Rendition. I'd prefer arsenaling Eloquent Eulogy, obviously. Especially with Tunic, we can play Eloquent Eulogy from Arsenal, which is fine. We can't play Haunting Rendition from Arsenal, so I think I'm probably going to pitch the Haunting Rendition if I had to guess. So Whale resolves, we get 1 rune chant from Malefic Incantation, which again we will target with our Deadwood Dirge after creepersing it in. So they're doing some blocking. We creepers, there you go. So we pitch the Haunting Rendition because we'd rather put the Eloquent Eulogy in Arsenal. We target the 1 rune chant. We could have targeted Malefic, but in this case we just need 3 rune chants, and we'd rather hold the Malefic for similar shenanigans next turn. So the Widespread Destruction presents 6, and so they're going to have to take 2, and they're going to lose their Arsenal. It's a big win for us. We can just Arsenal this Eulogy. Or in this case, I decided to keep it, which is a great decision. So, you know, sometimes if you just have a Blood Deck card left in hand, we decide to keep it to guarantee that we can banish something on our next turn. So it would have been a little more awkward if I did stuff it in Arsenal, especially since Tunic was not online. So we were on the ball then, not so much today. So I'm happy about that decision. I mean, you know, we would have drawn a 4th card, so who knows? We could have drawn into another Blood Deck card. We don't know what's on the top of our deck, so it's fine. But anyway, sometimes just deciding not to Arsenal to guarantee that you have a Blood Deck card to banish is the play. So in this case, we just banished Eulogy, played it out with Shadow Puppetry. So it's coming in for +1, 5, go again on hit, look at the top of our deck. So maybe we can see what's on top of our deck if we're lucky. They do let it hit. We find a Phantom Wraith, so that's great. So I would have drawn into that Phantom Wraith, but anyways, this just makes things easier. I can break Chain to make Eloquence, play Funeral Moon to make us our 2nd rune chant, thanks to Malefic Incantation to make us 1. Now we make a 2nd and restore our action point. We can make even more with this Quill Hand, go up to 6 chants, or with this Revel, go up to 6 chants, and another 6. So this is 12 damage. Pretty unlikely that they'll be able to prevent it all, but not impossible. We'll see. So taking 1, preventing 3, and then using Tunic Resource to prevent another 1, plus a little more. They're down to 2. They rewound, but I think they just do the same thing over again. So Tunic Resource, preventing more rune chants. Blocking 6. And Flail. So Flail, so they actually survive on 1. Or no, they can't. I thought that their gloves were able to prevent damage. So anyways, a bit of a closer game. We identified a few spots where we could have played things slightly differently. Great opponent there, though. You know, just learning. It helps to play a couple different games with the same opponent, try and get a sense of what their deck wants to do, make some tweaks, so on and so forth. So Enigma matchup is really interesting. We have a really great hero ability that allows us to interact with them on a different level. So being able to push that unpreventable arcane just like clears their ward, which is probably very frustrating for them. But it's still not like we're favored in that matchup, I think. But against a good Enigma player who's familiar with the matchup, it's definitely not free. We do have to think through our decisions and time our Shadow non-attacks as much as possible to align with their go-off turns. Because they definitely have some potential to push damage with some of their high output cards like Mirror Guy and all that kind of stuff. So anyways, I hope you found that interesting. As always, let me know if there's anything you would have done differently. And that's about it. So we'll chat again real soon. Cheers, everybody.